Tonight on the Northwestern News Report. As one investigation closes, another one opens. A Medill professor who was suspended after his involvement in the encampment last spring provides an update on his situation.
Plus, controlling the carbon. How Northwestern and other community members are pushing back against a city ordinance aimed at eliminating carbon emissions.
And slithering into the Lunar New Year, Evanston kicks off the Year of the Snake with a community celebration.
All that and more tonight on the Northwestern News Report.
It's your news right now.
Good evening and welcome to the Northwestern News Report. I'm Max Rothfeder.
And I'm Mila Branson. Northwestern President Michael Schill gave his annual Fireside Chat today, touching on both his hopes and concerns for this next year. Many of those concerns stem from Washington, where President Donald Trump just took office. Today, the Trump administration announced new restrictions on federal aid, which Schill seemed to reference in his remarks. NNN's Allison Miller attended the chat and has more. Allison?
Thanks, Mila. I'm here in the McCormick Auditorium where President Michael Schill spoke earlier this morning in his annual Fireside Chat. Now, the president opened the event with about a 30-minute State of the University address, which he said was a little bit longer than he had hoped to speak. But he also said that because concerns among faculty and staff were similar, he could address them all up front. Take a look.
We won't succeed unless we are together and that everyone, all of you, are part of the effort.
Northwestern President Michael Schill painted a worried yet hopeful future for the university at his annual Fireside Chat. Inside, a crowd gathered to hear his takes on where the university stands after a tumultuous 2024 and with the new Trump administration at the helm.
I liked what he had to say, so I feel like he's going to be addressing the concerns that we're hearing from Washington.
In his State of the University talk, Schill touched on highs and lows, including Northwestern's jump in national rankings, his time testifying on Capitol Hill, and balancing budgets between campus construction and changes in federal funding under the Trump administration.
Federal funds pay for the lion's share of our $1.05 billion research enterprise. They directly fund 13% of our staff.
Schill says Northwestern will need to tighten its purse strings, as revenue has not been growing as quickly as expenses.
It's really important that people not feel like decisions are being made without engagement, without talking to people.
Addressing what he called the elephant in the room.
We are in the targets of a lot of people in Washington, and I don't mean just we, I mean all of higher education.
The president tried to reassure staff while acknowledging his uncertainties. He noted that Trump's executive orders on immigration might impact the lives of international students and that the new administration threatens academic freedom and inclusion. He says that he will continue working with lobbyists in Washington as well as other university presidents to advocate for the importance of higher education.
You may feel that we're entering into a pretty scary moment in our history with regard to higher education. And I think it is scary. I think we are moving into uncharted territory.
Now, a central theme of the Fireside and the note that President Schill ended on in his address was unity. He hopes that in the face of the new Trump administration, the university will come together to unite against threats to research funding, to continue to support the undocumented community, and to uplift diversity and inclusion. Back to you in the studio.
Allison, thank you. We'll keep you updated on how NU responds to those challenges as they develop.
Turning now to the fallout from last April's encampment on Deering Meadow, a controversial Medill professor says he will be returning to the classroom next quarter after claiming in a news release last week he was, quote, exonerated by a panel of his peers.
You will not touch our students! You will not touch our students!
That's Professor Stephen Thrasher as he and other protesters jostled with university police on the first day of the encampment. Thrasher says he is now being investigated for these actions, even though he says another months-long investigation recently wrapped up and he was cleared to return to the classroom this spring. Thrasher says that first investigation began over the summer and caused his classes to get canceled in the fall. He says that this probe focused on complaints filed against him his social media use, and his views on objectivity in journalism. But he says within 24 hours of learning that that first case was closed, he found out he was being investigated a second time, a flurry of activity that he says caught him by surprise.
I well assumed that all of this was being included in the first investigation, and really quite improbably, administration is now saying, no, now we have to talk about the first day of the encampment. And so my read, in consultation with my attorneys, is this is a political persecution. It's the same thing we argued with the first investigation, that the timing is extremely suspect.
And NNN's Logan Schijano joins us now. Logan, you talked with Thrasher. How is he looking back on his actions from the encampment now that the university is investigating what played out on that first day?
Well, Max, Thrasher told me that it's been difficult for him to face investigation after investigation over these last several months, but he says he's under the impression that this latest investigation won't result in suspension or termination, and he's looking forward to getting back into the classroom where he'll teach an LGBTQ reporting class next quarter. And when I had a chance to ask him about the video that you saw on the screen there, he told me that at the end of the day, he's focused on protecting his students, and of course, he's been very outspoken in his support for the Palestinians in Gaza and Palestinian journalists, and in that moment specifically, he thought he had no regrets.
If I see students in imminent harm, it's my duty as a professor to try to mitigate that harm. And so even though it was physically difficult getting physically beat up, I'm glad that it was me that got hit by the cops and not the students.
And Max, we have of course reached out to Northwestern as well to try to get some more clarity on Thrasher's situation, but they tell us that they do not comment on personnel matters.
All right, thanks, Logan, for that reporting. Now, also stemming from the encampment, we now know who will make up the university's advisory committee on investment responsibility. President Schill says the 9-member committee includes one of the ASG co-presidents and the university's chief investment officer. The committee will be a forum for the community to raise issues related to investment responsibility and a channel for engaging with the Board of Trustees investment committee. Now, reestablishing this committee was a key part of that so-called Deering Meadow Agreement, which ended the encampment last year. Protesters raised concerns with Northwestern investing in companies connected to Israel. The committee's first public meeting is scheduled for February 19th.
Now for an update on the immigration raids launched by the Trump administration. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, says its officers began targeted deportation operations in Chicago over the weekend. The agency says it's taking criminals who pose a threat to public safety into custody. ICE says it's made 1,179 arrests around the country. On Monday, the most in a single day since President Trump took office. In Evanston, local leaders have taken a stand against potential action in the city. City Council updated the Welcoming City Ordinance, clarifying that city officials will not participate in civil immigration enforcement by any agency or personnel. It also hosted a Know Your Rights training last week. The Trump administration has threatened to investigate local officials who do not cooperate with immigration enforcement operations. But one Evanston leader says he's not too concerned about that right now.
I haven't received a legal briefing on the implications of those threats. I think it's going to be a tough time for cities like Evanston that are so liberal, and we live in a nice blue bubble here. I would like to think of Evanston as a safe sanctuary where everyone is welcome.
We'll continue to follow this story.
In a win for Northwestern, the Evanston City Council agreed last night to delay a final vote on an ordinance aimed at eliminating carbon emissions from some of the city's biggest buildings. Logan Schijano has more on Evanston's proposed Healthy Buildings Ordinance and why the university is not completely on board.
This house we got Home of the Decade from Natural Home magazine.
Nate Kipnis knows a thing or two about designing homes with sustainability in mind. It's a hallmark of the firm he's been running for 31 years. But he says Evanston's biggest buildings, like the schools, apartment towers, and offices, have the greatest impact on the city's carbon footprint.
These kind of buildings have maintenance periodically. They're going to update equipment. So the smart thing to do is when that happens to update their equipment to being very efficient.
Evanston City Council members want to make sure of it. They voted unanimously earlier this month to move the so-called Healthy Buildings Ordinance to a final vote. If it comes to pass, the HBO would require buildings over 20,000 square feet to eliminate on-site emissions from energy use and consume only renewable energy sources by 2050.
We've done all the easy stuff. We knew that at some point the work was going to get harder, and we're here kind of at that point now.
But not everyone is thrilled about the Healthy Buildings Ordinance, including leaders here at Northwestern, who sent this letter to City Council earlier this month outlining some of their concerns.
The university says it supports the HBO's underlying objectives to reduce emissions, but feels, quote, singularly targeted by the ordinance, with NU officials claiming it, quote, places a disproportionate share of the compliance costs on our university in a way that we do not believe was the intent of the City Council. The HBO was supposed to be voted on for a final time on Monday, but after the university and other concerned community members sent a second letter to the city in a last-ditch effort to delay the vote, Council ultimately listened.
I do have pause based off of the information that I've received from residents, from building owners, from institutions of higher education, and I want us to, I'll say it again, I think I said it earlier, measure twice and cut once.
While the HBO is on hold for now, Kipnis says it's crucial the city sees it through to the finish line.
No one should get off the hook here. Northwestern's got a commitment to this. If we can't do it in Evanston, I don't think anyone can do it.
In Evanston, Logan Schijano, Northwestern News Network.
And Logan is back with us now. So Logan, what caused these city council members to sort of have this change of heart and delay the final vote on this?
Well, Max, this was a very tense meeting and a fascinating and at times chaotic discussion that they had on the Healthy Buildings Ordinance last night. But council members were ultimately swayed by the members of the community, some real power players, including some superintendents of the school districts and, of course, Northwestern, who wanted some extra time to flesh out the details here and try to refine some of the language in the HBO. And ultimately, these council members were convinced that in the grand scheme of things, this is an ordinance that changes are going to be made over the next 25 years if it does pass. So delaying things by an extra week, not a huge deal. We'll, of course, be waiting to see what happens when they have their next city council meeting.
Yeah, we'll definitely be on the lookout for that next week. Thank you so much, Logan, for your great reporting. A busy week for you at NNN, as always.
One of Evanston's most prominent committees is about to be without a leader. Land Use Commission Chairman Matt Rogers says he will step down after tomorrow's meeting. He plans to focus on his bid for 8th Ward council member. The Land Use Commission has been at the center of city politics during the last couple years, with Rogers facilitating high-stakes discussions on Northwestern's Ryan Field Plan and Envision Evanston 2045. Rogers says stepping down will allow him to openly discuss issues like these on the campaign trail without having to worry about any potential ethics violations. Committee members will select a new chair at their meeting tomorrow. Rogers is challenging incumbent councilmember Devin Reed in the 8th Ward. NNN will have much more on this race and others during our Evanston Elections special on March 4th. Strike a pose in the new or gently used business attire at this Northwestern career event. Coming up next.
Trying to work my way out of the prison system was the most difficult challenge of my life. It only became tangible once I became a Northwestern student.
One, two, three, four.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back. Northwestern students are busy applying for internships this time of year, and one campus office is making sure they look their best for potential employers. Our Lulia Tekle stopped by Northwestern Career Advancement's Cat's Closet last week and has a snapshot of this camera-worthy event.
The clothes were catchy and the photos were flashy at Northwestern Career Advancement Cat's Closet headshot event last Tuesday. The offices provided students with suits, skirts, dresses, shoes, and more to use during their job searches. Tracy Thomas, Director for Career Development, says her main focus is to break down barriers students may have in professional settings.
Our students, particularly those on financial aid, can sometimes feel as if they do not have access to the same resources as students who are not on financial aid.
With over 60% of undergraduate students receiving some type of financial aid package from Northwestern, Thomas says it's important for students to have this resource.
Particularly since it's free and there's no limit to how often you can use it and when you can use it.
NCA receives donated new or gently used formal business casual attire from community members. On top of free attire, students can register for headshot events to get their professional photo taken for free. One of those students is Matthew Liu, a sophomore who's in the middle of applying for summer internships. Liu chose a shirt and a suit from the Cat Closet to look professional in the photos.
Yes, I actually borrowed some clothing from the NCA because I actually didn't bring anything here today.
Another sophomore working on applications is Grace He.
Like a great thing. I know a lot of people going from high school to college don't have a professional photo they can use, so like having a free event where everyone can come and take photos is really good.
You can add to the Cat's Closet by dropping off donations in person at NCA's office or by mail. They say they're currently in need of smaller sized men's suits. Lulia Tekle, Northwestern News Network.
Cat's Closet is open Mondays from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. and Wednesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., but headshot events require students to register beforehand.
Student Enrichment Services, or SES, marks 10 years of support for first-generation students with their second annual I'm First event. NNN's Margaret Gonzalez was there as students celebrated their journeys and accomplishments.
Student Enrichment Services, or SES, provides resources and programs designed to empower underprivileged Northwestern students. This year celebrates SES's 10-year anniversary and the second annual I'm First event, celebrating first-generation college students.
I'm First celebration, we're able to do some mingling and connect with one another.
Alongside these connections, the event also highlights achievements, with awards presented to NU faculty and students who have made a significant impact on the first-gen community.
The I'm First Award, which celebrates a undergraduate student who's first generation. And we do an Advocate Award, which is for faculty or staff.
One of this year's winners is David Walker, who received the Trailblazer Award for his accomplishments as a first-gen student.
To be a trailblazer means to make a way forward. I wanted to create a legacy for the students that I impact here at Northwestern.
The event not only celebrates individual achievements, but also emphasizes the importance of belonging and the collective goal of uplifting first-gen students.
I really hope that those who attended left feeling like them being here and taking up space matters.
Looking ahead, SES plans to expand its reach, creating more opportunities for first-gen students to be acknowledged at Northwestern.
I would love to see it expand towards celebrating the arts a little bit more.
With a decade of impact behind them, SES continues to honor first-gen students, ensuring their stories and voices are celebrated for years to come.
That was NNN's Margaret Gonzalez reporting. Thank you, Margaret. To learn more about SES, you can visit their Instagram. That's at SES_NU.
The Evanston Public Library serves as a local historical hub, and its most recent exhibit shed light on the successes and challenges of the city's reparations initiative. In celebration of 5 years since the adoption of the Evanston Reparations Resolution, EPL, the City of Evanston, and local nonprofit Shorefront collaborated to present an informative panel highlighting city progress. The Road to Reparations exhibit has been on display for the past 2 months on the library's 3rd floor, central to the circulation of folks throughout the building. The exhibit is a natural continuation of the library's previous involvement in the reparations process. Staff say they helped applicants with access and support.
I think that our role as a library is to try and preserve a bigger picture of the experiences of people who lived here.
While the exhibit closes tomorrow, the conversation on reparations continues. The State of Illinois Reparations public hearing will be hosted at Norris University Center next Saturday.
Up next, you could put the heavy jacket away for now. I'll give you the current forecast after last week's cold snap when we return.
I'm Kelly McEvers, founding host of the NPR podcast Embedded.
I'm James Edwards, host of the Unresolved podcast from Frontline.
I'm Antonia Cereijido, former senior producer of Anything for Selena podcast and current executive producer at Elias Studios.
My narrative, since I've been locked up and kind of made my transition, has been like redemption, accountability.
When I come into the classroom environment, every individual that sits amongst me takes education seriously.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Welcome back. Now, you know, Mila, I never thought being from South Texas I'd ever say that the 40s feel like a warm front, but here we are.
You know, I'm actually from the area, so I'm used to these colder days, but I also prefer the warmth.
Well, let's see if this warmth is here to stay. Fortunately for us, NNN's Emmanuel Perez joins us in the studio now to give us a look ahead. So, Emmanuel, are the 40s here to stay, or am I going to have to get my jumbo jacket out of the closet?
Looking ahead at the forecast, it's time to put those jackets away and enjoy a walk along the lakefront. Earlier today, a wind advisory was in effect along with an elevated risk as strong southwesterly winds swept through the area. This was driven by a low-pressure system to our north. As the system continues moving east, a cold front will push through our region, bringing cooler temperatures our way. Currently, skies are mainly clear with the moon peeking through and temperatures sitting at 39 degrees. Winds are coming in at 17 miles per hour as a cold front moves through, gradually dropping our temperatures into the mid-30s overnight. Taking a look at our local precipitation radar, we've been enjoying beautiful clear skies with no rain in sight. Conditions will stay dry and clear through the night and into tomorrow morning. Locally, our temperatures might trick us into thinking we are heading into spring. It is noticeably cooler by the lake. It is 39 in Evanston, 45 in Skokie, 45 at O'Hare, 42 in Chicago, and 43 at Midway Airport. Let's take a look at our 5-day forecast. A warming trend is on the way, along with some breezy conditions. Wednesday will be mostly sunny with a fresh breeze and just a few passing clouds, reaching a high of 38. By Thursday, it'll start to feel more like spring with temperatures climbing to 45 degrees and a continued breeze. However, we do expect some isolated showers developing late in the evening and lingering into Friday morning. Friday brings a high of 37, with morning rain transitioning into a rain-snow mix as the day goes on. Skies will stay cloudy throughout with the chance for a few evening flurries. As we head into the weekend, Saturday will remain cloudy with a high of 33. By Sunday, mostly cloudy skies continue with a high of 40 and a low of 29. That's a look at your forecast for tonight.
That 45 on Thursday sounds absolutely lovely for late January as we approach midterm season. Emmanuel, we appreciate it.
A hidden gem in Evanston is closing its doors in just a few weeks. The American Toby Jug Museum, containing more than 8,000 jugs depicting famous characters, celebrities, politicians, and more, was the life work of Steve Mullins, a local developer who passed away in 2019. The museum has operated in trust since then, but the doors will open for one last time on April 1st. His daughter Beth Mullins, Scales, says she wants to show off the place before it closes.
But right now our goal is to get as many people in here as possible because that's what my dad liked.
Visitors to the museum have the opportunity to purchase Toby jugs as a souvenir. It's open on Tuesdays from 12 to 5 on Chicago Avenue. Be sure to check it out before it closes. Coming up, the Year of the Snake slithers into Evanston for its annual Lunar New Year celebration. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
My relationship with Giannis is unique. We're from the same country, we're from the same city. Being a Northwestern alum, I think, has tremendous advantages in the sports industry. To me, that community, it's been with me for 20 plus years.
Ready, set, piano!
Welcome back. The Lunar New Year begins tomorrow, but Evanston's Asian American community is wasting no time getting the party started. NNN's Callie Proctor stopped by an event over the weekend where dozens came together to mark the Year of the Snake and celebrate Asian culture.
Evanston residents gathered to welcome in the Lunar New Year at the Asian, South Asian, Pacific Islander American Organization's 4th annual celebration on Sunday. The event on Dempster Street featured games, arts and crafts, as well as a traditional lion dance.
You know, for myself being a mother, it's really nice to bring my son. He gets to see all of the cultural pieces to it, whether it's the lion dances, whether it's the food, and other customs like paper lanterns and other things that are involved in many countries of traditions.
The celebration also featured displays and pop-up stands from local Asian-owned businesses and restaurants.
You know, there's a lot of Asian-owned businesses, but we're not very front and center in this town. I'm not sure why. So it just got me thinking like, oh, let's reach out to some of the other Asian-owned businesses and find out, you know, what their experience is like.
But whether it's cultural, artistic, or business-related, many attendees say they appreciated that the celebration was able to provide a space for Asian American residents.
The hope is that Asian Americans who live in Evanston
see themselves reflected in their community, in the place that they call home, and feel a stronger sense of belonging in their community.
In Evanston, Callie Proctor, Northwestern News Network.
Thanks, Callie. Here on campus, Northwestern will be holding its own Lunar New Year celebration tomorrow with special menus in all of the dining halls. And if you head to Allison, there will be a lion dance performance, crafts, and teaching kitchen from 5 to 7:30 p.m. So Max, this year is going to be the year of the snake. And I was born in 2005, so I'm the year of the rooster. But what animal represents your year?
Well, I'm a 2002 baby, so that makes me the year of the horse, which is pretty apropos because they're one of my favorite animals. But that also makes me feel a little old on this desk here. 2005 baby next to me. But that's all the time we have tonight. For the Northwestern News Report, I'm Max Rothfeder.
And I'm Mila Branson. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.